So today I'm going to be talking about faith, more specifically, whether you're questioning your faith currently, or if you've ever questioned your faith, and if you don't know what to do about it, if it's presenting you some form of like discomfort or anxiety or trepidation or general sense of dis-ease internally. You're questioning your faith. And typically that faith is in relationship to the transcendent. So either in the context of spirituality or religion or your personal relationship with God, you're questioning your faith. Now, the question is why and how do you solve that problem? Because, by the way, in case you aren't aware, you have faith in something, in things typically that you have faith in. The reason why is because you need to have faith in something if the outcome of that thing is unknown or unknowable, which means that you need to rely on some kind of process. You need to rely on either yourself or something that you're doing or somebody else to get to a particular end state. And if you don't know what that is, and if you can't fully control it, then you need some form of faith. So this faith is actually applicable in every area of your life where you don't have full control. And that's most areas. So let's talk about it. So first of all, let's define a couple of terms here: faith and hope. So faith, very simply, is unquestioned belief. Hope is questioned belief. The example that I give here, it's a very simple analogy. So you're in a position right now and you are going to jump across a gap, some kind of chasm or whatever. So if the outcome of you proceeding to jump over it is unknown, and you don't question whether you can make it or not, you just have faith that you can actually make it, or you just believe that you can make it without any doubt, that's faith. If you're questioning whether you can, then you're hoping, right? You hope that you can make it. You're not sure, but you think that you can. So faith is unquestioned belief. Hope is questioned belief. Now, remember, the situation is the same. It's you jumping over this gap. Now, where the reason faith actually comes into play in any kind of scenario like the one I'm describing, and more generalized, in a more generalized scenario, is that the outcome needs to be either unknown or unknowable, which means that if you know the outcome, there is no faith involved. Like this couch is here, which means that if I turn my head and I look back, I don't need faith to know that it's going to be there. Or if I'm just going to jump over something that's the size of my stride, that's like, whatever, this long, I don't need faith to know that I can make it to the other side because the outcome is known. So anytime you have a known outcome or a knowable outcome, you don't require faith for that or hope. So faith is only in the presence of the unknown or the unknowable. That's why a lot of people will proclaim their faith in God, and that's why faith is almost always talked about in a religious sense or a spiritual sense, because that transcendent is kind of like the ultimate unknown. It's the ultimate unknowable. So faith is unquestioned belief. So now the question is, what happens when your faith is tested? Because you're going to have those moments where you feel so certain in whatever, right? Let's say in this particular instance, it's like it's God, it's some kind of protector, or it's some kind of system. It's even some, maybe you worked at a company for 20 years and they laid you off or whatever. Your relationship, like you have faith in that, and it just falls apart. Relationship falls apart. Company goes out of business. Something tragic happens in your life, and now you don't know if you can believe in God anymore, right? Your faith is being questioned in all those circumstances. So your faith is tested when what you have faith in is either challenged externally or doubted internally. So your faith is going to be tested when you're either challenged from somebody else or from some other system external to you, or there is some kind of self-doubt that creeps in. Now, it could be both simultaneously. So one could feed into the other. So your own self-doubt could create more opportunities for you to like seek out different options, and now your faith is being challenged, or vice versa. You could be challenged from somebody, and now you start to doubt yourself, and now you feel like you're in this unstable place. Now I'm going to talk about specifically in the context of religion and spirituality, because I think what a lot of people fail to realize is that your faith is actually deeper than your belief in the veracity and the historical accuracy of certain religious texts or proclamations that other people are making. So, which means that if you have faith through somebody else, through some kind of other natural force, physical, material force in this world, human, books, then what's going to happen is if that is questioned in any way, shape, or form, you've moved away from the essence of that faith and you've applied it to something external. So once that thing is external, once that external thing is attacked or challenged, then you might feel the need to, or you might be compelled to defend it at that level. So now you may come up with your own statements, your own arguments, but what you're doing when you're defending that belief that you have at that level is that you're framing your perceptions in such a way where you're limiting other positions. And so you're compromising your values, your other values in different ways. So what you really want to do is be in a position where it doesn't really matter what other people say. It doesn't really matter what challenges that you receive. It doesn't really matter what even doubt is generated internally within you. That faith that you have is unshakable because the faith is with a personal connection that you have with the divine. It's a personal connection that you have with God or with the source, with a source of everything, or however you want to call it. So let's talk about it. Now, one thing that I want to point out here is faith itself is, I want you to remember one thing. Faith is in the realm of the unknown, right? Knowledge is in the realm of the known. So the only time you will ever have this feeling of faith, or that you would be the requirement of faith to actually exist, is in the presence of something that is unknown. So you can't know it, because if you did know it, you wouldn't require faith. That's why they call it a leap of faith. Same with the example that I gave you. It's a leap of faith, right? You're jumping. You have to make a leap, which means, what does that mean? Think about it. If it's a leap of faith, faith is what? It's an action. It's a verb, right? You're doing faith, which means that a lot of people say that they have faith in, let's say, for example, God. So a person that proclaims that they have faith in God, let's say they're part of some kind of religious sect. Now, what are they doing to demonstrate that faith? Well, probably they're reading religious texts, they're praying, they're going to the church or synagogue or temple, they're adhering to the creeds of that certain religion. So they're actually doing stuff to demonstrate their faith. You will never hear somebody who has faith in something who doesn't do anything to represent that faith or to back up that faith, because that isn't real faith. That isn't true faith. So you cannot have faith in an outcome. That is a known thing or an end state. It's not possible. You can only have faith in the actions that you take, the process. So which means that faith does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in association with something else that is either unknown or unknowable, and it is an action. It's what you do generates your faith if it is true faith. So you actually show your faith by the things that you do, not necessarily what you say. Same, like I said in a couple of videos prior, is that when you say that you want something, but you don't act in accordance with that want, there's a deeper part of you that has needs that are being fulfilled that actually doesn't want what you say that you want. That's why it's working against you. So sometimes when you have parts of you that are working against each other, that's an indication that you're not fully aligned. So if you proclaim faith in something, you must act in accordance with that faith that you claim that you have. Otherwise, you don't have faith. So the question is, well, how do we live our lives in a way where we're not relying on an external source, on an external text? So in fact, I have two sets of notes. I have my journal and I have my phone here. So how do you make that distinction? So first of all, as far as, am I having faith in the right thing? Right? That's the distinction that I'm trying to draw here. It's like, are you having faith in the right thing? So what is it? So you don't want to have faith in a direction or map that someone has created for you. You will not get closer to the truth as long as you do not let me rephrase the whole thing. You don't want to have faith in a direction or a map that somebody has created for you. Why? Because it's somebody else's, right? You're not really tapping into who you are. If you listen to any of my videos, virtually all of them, all I'm telling you to do, asking you to do, inviting you to do, is to really look inwards. I'm teaching you how to like use the tools that you already have in here so you can make your life better in every possible way. Your professional life, your personal life, your life in association with other people, your social life, in every possible way to become stronger, to become more confident, to become more disciplined, to become more courageous, to become more loving, to become more truthful, to become all of these things. Like you have that all within you. That's why I'm not directing you to other places. It's in here. So don't have faith in a direction or a map that somebody else has created for you. So this kind of flies in the face of religion a little bit, right? Because you're thinking, well, if I have faith, because think about it like this. If you have faith in the words that somebody else wrote thousands of years ago through observations of other people and their experience of the divine, then how many degrees removed are you from any type of truth or reality? Because remember, what religion is doing. Religion is pointing to something transcendent. And if you remember that quote from Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon, what did he say to his pupil? The pupil delivers a kick with mean, like with force. And Bruce Lee's like, yes, that's exactly it. How did that feel? And the pupil says, let me think. And Bruce Lee slaps his head and he says, don't think, feel. It's like a finger. And then Bruce Lee says, it's like a finger pointing away to the moon. And the pupil looks at the finger and Bruce Lee slaps his head again. And he says, don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all of that heavenly glory. So religions are basically a finger pointing to the transcendent. So if you focus on the religion, then you will actually miss your relationship with the transcendent. Because remember, when you look at the transcendent, right? When you look at the heavenly glory, when you look at the moon, that's you in relationship to the moon. There's no intermediary third party. The third party, they're symbols, right? They're giving you a direction. But if you have faith in the religion, in the like the literal interpretation of the text, then basically you're missing the forest for the trees. You're missing the heavenly glory. That's why your faith, if it's rooted in something deeper, then nobody can question it. It's completely unshakable. And here's why. You will get closer to the truth as long as you do not reference sources that condition and train your mind away from you, which is exactly what I described. So the analogy that I like to give here is if you developed, and then I wrote this down here, if you developed a code, right, to produce a program, let's take this kind of computer analogy a step further. So if you develop code to produce a program that you wanted to create, that you intended to create, if somebody doubts or challenges you on it, you still have the utmost confidence because your understanding and efforts already created what you were aiming for. So somebody could question your methodology and you could say, well, this is what I was intending to do. And this is exactly what I experienced. So I understand why you're questioning it, but it doesn't really, it wouldn't really phase you because you've already done it. Like you have a process that you've gone through and you've obtained what you aimed for. And that obtaining in this kind of religious context is really the communion that you have, that's a specific, detailed, intimate, personal connection that you have with the divine, with the thing that you have faith in. Now, if this person now questions you, if you haven't created that thing that you were aiming for, you're more likely to question your methods or thought process around it. So what you really want to strive for is you put yourself in a position where you're in an ongoing cycle of creation with what you're in communion with, which means your mind is always open and it's attentive and it's aware. That's why I always tell you to stay away from distractions. They're keeping you away from what's actually truly within you. Because what's happening is when you remove the distractions, now you have access to deeper levels within you. So you're kind of like unlocking doors, you're unlocking caverns, and different things are being revealed. And now you're actually more attentive, you have more clarity of mind, and you can be in communion with that thing, right? God, whatever you want to call it. And so what that actually means is now the connection is strong and you start to notice how everything in some way can actually help you or serve you, or you can even recognize how it's there to guide you. And as long as you're living by specific principles, you can take advantage of what's being shown to you. That's why I always advocate what? Building your character, right? Character development. That's really important because that's going to allow you to have the experiences that you want to have and be able to leverage them when they present themselves to you as far as the opportunities. So don't think of God as the God of XYZ religion. You have to think about the God, your God, as the God of, for me, the God of Constantine, for you, the God of James, the God of Maria, the God of Christina, the God of Ahmed, the God of whoever you are. That relationship matters more than the text or the dictates of an external source. The experiences that you have and the understanding that you've created with that connection is eternal in this life. Nobody can ever take that away from you. Nobody can ever question it. They can question the text, they can question the this and the that, but they can never question your direct experience with God, your connection with God. And if it's ever questioned, you know that your experience is real and true in its revelation. Anyone else's interpretation is irrelevant because they are not you and you're not them. So I want to end with one final thing to kind of cap this off, and hopefully it's going to be powerful and hopefully it's going to resonate with you. So I'm going to read this note in full, and then I'll let you go about your day. Your faith will be tested. But even when you lose faith in God, God doesn't lose faith in you. You're God's creation. Therefore, everything you need has already been bestowed upon you. God and the universal principles are a part of you forever. Whatever you believe will eventually be questioned, doubted, or challenged by you or someone else. Your mind is a nearly infinitely powerful tool, but it's not more powerful than what made you. It's not more powerful than the essence of life itself. It's not more powerful than the origin of existence. It's not more powerful than the source of everything. In the face of this omnipresent energy, your beliefs don't matter. What matters is the ineffable and inextricable connection that exists between you and God. The connection between the nature of being and what will be. That is you. You are the process of becoming. All polar and complementary forces are one when they are harmonized. Remember, as I talked about getting everything, every part of you on your team working in the same direction. They are past, present, and future in a single moment. That single moment is you, and you possess everything you need here and now.